Hey, you're here. Okay, so I'm so happy you're here. I know we're in a different place. The background's different. We're not downstairs in the kitchen. Had to get out the kitchen. Okay, I have jokes tonight. So life's in session, right? And you have to roll with the punches. So we're upstairs because my daughter has bio tutoring tonight. So she has bio and a math tutor. So they need to work in the kitchen. And so we just found, hey Grace, how are you? Thanks for joining us. We just found a place that we had to readjust because life's about readjusting, right? So if this is your first time joining me, thank you for joining me. My name is Camila Tibbitts. I'm a business owner of over 20 years in the home and the gift industry. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, but above all, I just have a heart for building community. And I just love to encourage people and see them walk out their lives in what they were called to do, whatever that means. If they were called to the marketplace, if they're called to ministry, if they're called into academics, like whatever that means, I like to see people walk that out. So we've been doing a series, like this is the third week of our series on just putting some stakes in the ground, right? Like it all started through this season of love. How do you define love in your life? What does love look like in your life? And from there, we just decided that, hey, hey Nisa, how are you joining us? Thanks for joining me. I love the hearts. We're putting some stakes in the ground of what that looks like. So we talked about we're building a canopy, right? We're building a tabernacle of a safe place, especially at beginning the year. You've had some declarations, you had some resolutions, and we're putting these stakes in the ground to just establish who you are, where you're going, and to just build community and support each other as a tribe. So first we talked about identity. Oh, hi Sing, how are you? Thank you for joining. We talked about identity. We talked about voice, and last week we talked about voice. Identity came from like knowing who you are, not having labels put on you by other people. Voice is just establishing your voice, like letting your voice change an atmosphere, letting your voice carry even when you're not in the room because it had such a broad impact. And today we're gonna welcome. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Welcome to you as well. Today we're going to sit and land on authority and power. So that's where we're at. We're going to talk about authority, and we're going to probably just close it with power. Hi Jay, thanks for joining us. I thought you weren't joining. Thanks for joining us. If everyone sees Jay Tibbitts, that's my son. I just actually came back from New York from visiting him, and this is a good segue because I was thinking about how like authority, what that means. A lot of times when people see authority, people don't like authority. Like, I don't want anybody telling me what to do type of thing. So he's saying, hey, because he's watching a movie, multitasking. So a lot of people kind of have like this resentment or negative reaction with authority. And we're just going to change that. And I was trying to think about the best way to approach like what authority looks like. And when I was in New York, I saw, you see all of the diplomat cars, right? You see like the town cars and the drivers, and it has information on what country they are from and as ambassadors. And that's, New York is where the United Nations is located. And I started to think earlier today about like the diplomat and the ambassador. Hi, Ricky. Thanks for joining us. And how, let's say New Zealand. Okay. Saludar. Okay, Ricky, tell me what that means. I believe that means hello, welcome, like salud, but definitely let us know so we can share, because we're talking about diplomats, so that's awesome that you like welcome me in a different language. So like say it's New Zealand, right? So they live in America, but their representation is of their country. And so when they're here, they have certain authority in America, even though they are from another country, even though they're representing another country. They have certain type of authority. They have a specific license plate. They have certain rules that are particularly for them as a diplomat. But even with that authority, they still respect the culture, right? Like they still respect the culture of, hi, Montanar 428, thanks for joining us. They still respect the culture of America and what we have in a very honoring way, but not so much so in that respect where they're yielding to where they're from. So they're able to balance that in and that's how nations work together. So they're able to balance that in a very respectful, honoring way. And so if you think about the authority of the diplomat, they know who they are, right? Like you see their cars, like the certain tickets, certain laws that apply to them, but they carry that and they walk in that. Not like they're yielding power over everyone, hello, but that's what they are. And so I would challenge you that the same way that you are establishing your authority or you're walking out your authority, you may be in different realms, like you may be in different cultures, but your authority and who you are doesn't change from that, right? So if I am at an organization where I'm not the leader, I'm going to yield to the authority of the leader, but it doesn't change who I am, right? Because my authority is established based upon what's in my core. Right, my authority is established because, hi Anna, thanks for joining us. My authority is established because I know who I am, right? And if we go back to what we built upon these past 2 weeks, my authority is established because I know my identity, right? My authority is established because I know my voice. So as I start to lay ground in these areas, my authority doesn't move. So we're just going to get into that really fast about establishing your authority. Hi, Mrs. Amber. Thanks for joining us. How's Steph? Thanks for joining. People are joining. Hey, love. Thank you. That's awesome. So what we want to do is we want to set our mind on things above, right? So when we look at our authority, we're not looking at what's going on around us. And for me as a business owner, that's very key because it's really easy to get trapped on what you see with your naked eye. And what you're seeing with your naked eye, hi Integrity Cater, how are you? What you're seeing with your naked eye can be very deceiving. So if I'm setting my mind on things above, that means I'm setting my mind on inspiration. I'm setting my mind on where I get those moments of clarity, where I get my confidence from. And I'm telling myself, what is really happening here, and how am I establishing my authority in this realm? So again, set your mind on things above, establish your authority. And I know a lot of you here, you've lost your authority, right? Hi Cav, thanks for joining. You've lost your authority in an arena, right? So I don't know if you've lost your authority in managing your team. I don't know if you've lost your authority as a parent and your kids don't listen to your voice anymore and are walking over you. I don't know if you've lost your authority as a partner. But I want to tell you something, that when you lose your authority, it just doesn't happen like that, right? It's just like all of a sudden I was a head coach, or all of a sudden I was a team captain. Grace, you know what that's like. And now the team isn't listening to me anymore. That just doesn't happen overnight. You lose your authority slowly. You lose your authority when you start to see those little red flags, right? And you don't use your voice. You lose your authority when you don't know who you are and people test you and you let things slide. You overlook things. And the more you overlook and the more you let things slide because you don't want to establish your voice, the more you're going to lose that authority. So if you need to reestablish that authority in your life, then I would suggest that first, you're honest with yourself, right? Because if people aren't respecting you and people aren't respecting your voice, you need to be honest with you first and stop, as my kids would say, playing yourself, right? You just need to have a moment where you're I'm not winning here. And it's okay. It's okay it's okay to say you're not winning, right? I'm not winning here, but this is about to change. And then you need to find people in your life who you're going to give permission to speak into your life. You're going to give people in your life permission to have counsel, right? And so for me, I talked about it earlier in my Insta story. I have a tribe of people. I have a council of women that I've allowed, they're comrades for me, and I've allowed to speak into my life. So when I feel like I'm on shaky ground, or when I feel like my identity is being questioned, or people are getting to me in a way that my perception is off, then I have people that can speak into my life that can say, this is who you are. This is what you're called to do. This is what's over your life. This is a fruit that I've seen you walk out in your life. Do you see these examples of this? And it puts you back in position, right? Because sometimes we just need to be put back in position. And if you have safe people around you, and if you have a tribe of people around you, you can get put back into position really fast. As long as you are honest with yourself if you're slacking, right? As long as you're honest with yourself about if you're not winning, it's very easy to be put back in position as long as you have those people around you. Yeah, I love the yes, Amber Gill. Okay, so you have an example of that. If you have an example of a time when you've lost your authority, or a time when you've been a part of a team and seen someone lose their authority and how that made you feel as a team member looking to that leader, like share that with us just from a place of just pure honesty and vulnerability. And I want to talk about something real fast about authority in terms of youth. Okay, I look young, lotions and potions, okay? But I look young, but I'm 42, but there are times that people think I'm a lot younger. And I appreciate when people comment, like when people think out loud about how young I look, because that in terms of if I'm in a place of leadership, if I'm in a place of position, because it's telling me that's where they're stopping, right? But guess what? When people do that with you, like, don't despise your youth. If you've been called to leadership, if you've been called to lead a team, if you've been called to be a head coach, to be a captain of a team, and you're the youngest, the confirmation came when you were asked to lead. Okay, the confirmation came when someone said, this is who we want on the team. This is who we want leading us. So never let your authority be questioned by age or youth. And I can say that from example. Never let your authority be questioned by experience. Never let your authority be questioned by someone else who is judging your resume. Like, you don't have to walk into a room and show your resume. You don't have to walk into a room and show your curriculum vitae. You don't have to walk into a room with your bio on your back. You have that inside. You have that in your core. And as long as you know who you are, like we've gone over, you know your identity, you know your voice. Someone's asking a question. What do you do once you're talking to another and the person feels you can't say such to them? Give me an example of what you mean. So like if you're talking to someone and I have things, I think what you're saying is if you're talking to someone and they're questioning your authority or commenting on your youth, let me know if I'm in the right place. And you can't go, for lack of a better word, go in on them. That's your delivery has to be appropriate. Your delivery has to be in the context of what you're doing, trying to correct them. You know how you correct them? By going back to position. So like if they're like, I can't believe you're so young. Like, I can't believe you're doing this, or wow, like it really surprised. You know how people are like low-key shady. Like they're being low-key shady. You just go back to what you've been called to do and you stay in the positive. So you would say something like, yeah, this is such an honor, and as I walk and repeat what your title is, right? So yes, this is such an honor. And as I walk this out of manager at this new team, I'm learning so much, but I also can see how what I'm bringing, I already can see examples of that. Right? And then you put it back on them. Like, what are you doing? Like, tell me more about yourself. You turn it back on them. Because what you're doing is you're establishing your authority. Like, yes, I've been honored. I've been put in this place. You're saying what you're giving, right? You're like, this is what I've seen since I've been here. This is a fruit that's happened. And then you turn it back around on them. So tell me what you're doing with your team, right? Or tell me how you're leading. Tell me what areas you're leading with and how that's worked for you, right? Boom. And you can always smile. My mom was saying, you can always smile. But that's a way where you can say it without saying it and correct them by establishing who you are and asking the question back to them. Because now they have to pull that out of themselves, the same question that they're questioning you with. So let me know if that answered your question, but definitely I would just reestablish what you've been called to do, the responsibilities that you have, how you've seen the fruit in that, and then go back and ask them the same question. Take the light off of you. Because remember, you're a mirror, right? When people see you sometimes, like, it's not really about you. Like, people are seeing like, oh, why didn't they pick me? Or, oh, like, who said that she can lead? Or whatever that looks like. And that has nothing to do with you. And you can't let people take you out of your seat. You can't let people take you out of your authority. So thank you for the question. You guys let me know if you guys have any other questions. So we're going to reestablish our authority. If you've lost it, you're going to find safe people around you to pour into you, to call you back into, that see the calling on your life, that see the skill sets on your life, that are going to call you back into that. And just allow people to speak into your life. And once you have that authority, like once your authority is not shaky, and you're able to just be super confident. And for a lot of you, you're reestablishing that, and that's okay. You're building a community, you're building a tribe. You're allowing, keyword, you're allowing people to speak into your life. But once you establish that, that's when the power comes, right? Because there's no question. See, like I can't operate in power, like I can't operate in the truth and the power of who I am if I'm questioning who I am, right? I can't operate in the truth and the power of who I am if my mind is not set on things above. Because the power that I have inside of me is coming from a deep, deep, deep place, right? The power that I have inside of me is coming from me setting my mind on things above. So once my authority is established and it's unshakable, like it's like someone coming to your house and saying, this is my house, right? Like if a stranger walked into your house and was like, no, this is my house, like you'd be like, no, this is, I own this house. Like my name's on the lease. Like there's no question that, like, that's how you need to be with your identity. That's how you need to be with your voice. That's how you have to be with your authority. So in closing, I'll just tell you that I had this trainer, right? And I'm not a big breakfast person. Like we all as women have like our little hacks that we think are working, but really aren't healthy. So I had this trainer and he always wanted me to eat breakfast. Like he wanted me to eat like this. And I'm like, I'm trying to count calories. Like I'm trying to stay in a certain framework, right? So, but he was like, you need to eat a good breakfast before you go healthy hacks. That's right, Amber. You need to eat a good breakfast because you're fueling the fire. Okay, and I want you guys to really hear what I'm saying now. Like I'm really like this is key. So what he was telling me is like we're starting the day with the fire, and the fire needs to be fueled up front, right? The fire needs to be fueled immediately. So as it starts to burn, as you start to walk out the power in your life and that fire starts to burn, you're fueling it. Right? You're fueling it with community. You're fueling it with setting your minds on things above. You're fueling it with having that quiet time. That fire is being fueled all the time. Because think about it, like you've gone to a bonfire, right? Or you've gone to so what do we have to do with the fire? We keep having to pour into it, right? Like we keep having to add to it. The fire is not going to keep going just by the fact on its own, right? It's going to die out. And that's how it is in your leadership. That's how it is in your business. That's how it is with your last 2 years of college. That's how it is with, your sobriety, and you're in that last week in treatment, and you're about to leave, and you think that treatment is just going to keep you sober. It's not. You have to fuel that fire. You have to fuel your recovery. You have to fuel your health plan. You have to fuel you, and you do that by solid things, right? And what fuels me and the power that's in me is different than what fuels you, because my power operates in a different manner. Like I have people on here, they're personal trainers, right? Their power has to come from a different place because they're motivating with their body, right? They're motivating, they're engaging with the client, and so they have to have what works for them may not work for me, but I guarantee you that once you start to operate in power, in strength, and in authority, you're going to have to constantly be refueling that. And that's what we're doing here. Like as a community, as a tribe, we're building a tribe, we're building a tent. We're finding ways that fuel our fire. Everything that I'm saying may work for you, or you may just take some nuggets, or what I like to say sometimes, you may just chew out the meat and spit out the bones. But there's probably some vegans and vegetarians here. So like, I don't know, like you may like eat the tofu and not the curry. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what, my son's vegan, so he's going to be super offended, but, you know what I mean? So like, you just have to find like some key pieces. And I just want to say one more thing, because this is really on my heart. Someone said, please check your inbox right after the video. Okay. If you know who you are, you shouldn't have a problem submitting to authority either. Okay, so let's talk about this real fast, because someone on here needs to know it. If you have a problem submitting to authority, then you don't know who you are. If you have a problem submitting to someone that's more powerful than you, that has more influence than you, then you don't know who you are. Because if I know who I am, right, and I'm confident in who I am, and I'm walking out who I am, when I'm under the authority of someone else, if I'm in an organization and there's a clear leader and I'm part of the team and I'm looking for directions from that leader, I can yield. Because I know what I'm bringing to the table, and I can believe and trust and honor the leader who has the bigger plan for me. I don't have to have a strategy for every sphere of influence I'm in. I don't have to have a plan for everything that I'm a part of. I'm low-key overwhelmed just having a plan for myself, my kids, my business, and everything else in my life, right? And so sometimes it just feels good to be like, I know what I can give to the team. I know the gifts that I have inside of me, but I don't have to run the show, right? Like, I don't have to be the director. I don't have to play out every act. So I just want to say that because a lot of people, and I'm gonna say, a lot of people are like, well, Camila, I'm a grown-ass woman. Like, no one's going to tell me what to do. You know what? I was like that too. But you know what I really was? I was really a scared little girl. And I thought I was operating in power, but really I was operating in fear, right? Because I was so fearful that I felt like I always had to push who I was on people, right? I always had to let you know, right? And like, if you know who you are, like, you've seen those women, like those grandmas, like those, those women that have just lived their life, like, they don't have to walk in the room and be the center of the room. They don't have to walk in the room and tell you every testimony and everything that they've walked through. But if you sit down and you're honoring and you give them the time, there is so much gold in them. So I would just encourage you, like, if you're on a ministry team, if you're on a corporate team, if you're on a team, whether it's an athletic team, you know your identity. You know that you have a voice. You know your authority. But don't be afraid to yield to someone or something that knows more than you, because they're seeing things from a totally different perspective. So just be encouraged. Stand in your authority. Once you stand in your authority, the power and the fuel and the fire is going to burn. And when it burns, it will ignite something so powerful. And it will transfer in a way that it is beyond what you can even imagine. Continue to fuel and fan the flame of the gift inside of you. Never let it die. Continue to pour out into yourself and pour out in others. It will move people and it will change lives. So I'll be back next Wednesday, 7 o'clock. I'll check my inbox. If anything, oh, Kath, thanks so much. No, thank you. This is a movement, like, and I'm not saying this is a movement because of me. It's a movement because this is wisdom, and these are universal truths that transfer culture, that transfer nations, that transfers language, because it's just who we're called to be and how we're called to walk it out, and that changes lives. So thanks again. You guys have a good night. Inbox me. Tell me your thoughts. Bye.